The rain in Seattle doesn't wash things clean. It just makes the grime slicker. I was standing under the awning of Lucille, a French bistro that charged $40 for an appetizer, watching the valet bring around a car. It wasn't my car. My car was a beat-up 2015 sedan parked 3 blocks away because I refused to pay the valet fee. The car pulling up was a Porsche Panamera. Jet black. Aggressive. Finally, Chloe sighed, shivering in her thin dress. She didn't look at me. She hadn't looked at me properly all night. I hate waiting. It ruins the mood. I'm sorry the service was slow, Chloe, I said, adjusting my glasses. They were thick frames, part of the disguise. But the food was good, right? The food was adequate, Liam, she snapped. But the atmosphere? We were seated near the kitchen. I could hear the dishwasher. It's embarrassing. The Porsche window rolled down. The driver wasn't a valet. It was Derek Vance. Derek was the regional manager at TechSource, the company where I had been working for the last 6 months as a Level 1 IT support technician. He was also the man Chloe had been texting incessantly for weeks. "Hey there, kiddos," Derek boomed, his voice cutting through the rain. He flashed a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. "Need a ride? You look like drowned rats out here." Chloe's demeanor changed instantly. The scowl vanished, replaced by a radiant, flirtatious smile. "Derek! Oh my God, what a surprise! What are you doing here?" "Closing deals, breaking hearts, the usual," Derek laughed. He looked at me, his eyes sliding over my damp hoodie and jeans with undisguised contempt. "Liam, fixed that server crash on the 3rd floor yet? Or are you too busy taking my best assistant out for, what is this? A 2-star dinner?" "It's a 4-star restaurant, Derek," I said calmly. "Not with that jacket, it isn't," Derek quipped. He turned his attention back to Chloe. "Look, I'm heading to the Vanguard Club. Private party. Champagne, caviar, actual important people. There's a seat open in the Porsche." He didn't need to say more. I watched the calculation happen in Chloe's eyes. It took less than a second. "Liam," she said, turning to me. She didn't look sad. She looked relieved. "We need to talk." "Actually, no, we don't. I think we both know this isn't working." "Because I parked 3 blocks away?" I asked. "Because you're stuck, Liam," she hissed, lowering her voice so Derek wouldn't hear the specifics, only the rejection. "You're 30 years old and you're resetting passwords for a living. You wear flannel. You count coupons. You're safe. And I am bored to death of safe." She gestured to the Porsche. "Derek is going places. He's a regional manager at 32. He has ambition. He has fire. You're just background noise. You're leaving me? Right now? On the sidewalk? Better than doing it in your sad little car," she said coldly. She opened the passenger door of the Porsche. She slid into the leather seat, the interior glowing with soft amber light. It looked warm in there. Expensive. "Don't stay up late, Liam," Derek shouted over the engine's rev. "I need you bright and early tomorrow. My printer is jamming again." He gunned the engine, splashing dirty puddle water onto my jeans, and peeled away into the night. I stood there for a long time. The rain soaked through my hoodie. Most men would be devastated. Most men would be angry. I just took off my glasses and wiped them on my shirt. "Regional manager," I whispered to the empty street. "Interesting." I walked the 3 blocks to my sedan. I got in, but I didn't drive to the cramped studio apartment listed as my address in the HR files. I drove north, toward the private airfield. I parked the sedan in the employee lot of the hangar. I walked toward the security gate. The guard, a stern man named Roberts who had been Special Forces, straightened up immediately when he saw me. "Good evening, Mr. Sterling," Roberts said, opening the gate. "Rough night?" "You could say that, Roberts," I said, shedding the wet hoodie and tossing it into a trash bin. "Is the jet prepped?" "Fueled and ready, sir. Flight plan to New York filed." I walked across the tarmac. The Gulfstream G650 waited, its engines already humming a low, powerful note. I wasn't Liam the IT guy. I was William Liam Sterling IV. My family owned Sterling Holdings. We had assets in real estate, pharmaceuticals, and logistics. 6 months ago, we quietly acquired TechSource, a failing mid-sized tech firm. The board wanted to liquidate it. I asked for 6 months to audit the culture from the ground up. I wanted to see why a company with good products was bleeding money. I found the answer. The answer was middle management. The answer was Derek Vance. I walked up the stairs of the jet. My assistant, Sarah, was waiting with a dry towel and a glass of scotch. "How was the date, sir?" she asked, taking the wet flannel shirt I peeled off. "Enlightening," I said, accepting the drink. "Initiate phase 2 of the merger, Sarah." "The restructuring?" "Yes. And schedule a mandatory all-hands meeting for the TechSource leadership team next Friday. At the headquarters. Shall I invite the regional managers?" "Especially the regional managers," I said, looking out the window at the rain. "I have a printer I need to fix." I was back at my desk at TechSource by 8 a.m. I wore the same kind of nondescript clothes. I put the thick glasses back on. The office was buzzing. Not with work, but with gossip. Chloe walked in at 9:30 a.m. She was wearing a new bracelet. Diamond. Small, but noticeable. She walked differently today. She walked like she owned the place. She stopped at my cubicle. She didn't come in. She leaned against the partition, sipping a latte that cost more than my hourly wage, or so she thought. "I hope you're not going to make this awkward, Liam," she said. "I'm just working, Chloe," I typed on my keyboard. "Good. Because Derek and it's serious. We have a connection. He understands the market. He understands luxury. He's taking me to the corporate gala next week." "The gala is for executives only," I said. "Exactly," she smirked. "He's a rising star, Liam. He says the new owners, whoever they are going to promote him to VP. He says he's practically running this place already." "Is that what he says?" "Yes. And frankly, it's refreshing to be with a man who matters." Derek walked out of his office. He clapped his hands loudly. "All right, drones. Listen up." The office went silent. "As you know, the acquisition is finalized. The new ownership group, Sterling Holdings, is calling the shots. They've summoned the top leadership, that's me, to the main headquarters next Friday for a strategy summit." He puffed out his chest. "This is it, people. The big leagues. I'll be meeting with the chairman himself. I'm going to pitch my vision for slashing the budget." He looked directly at me. "And my first proposal will be outsourcing the IT department. We're spending too much money on dead weight that can't even keep the Wi-Fi stable." The office snickered. Chloe laughed the loudest. "Pack your boxes, Liam," Derek grinned. "I'd say it's been a pleasure, but my mother taught me not to lie." I looked at him. I looked at the man who was stealing credit for my team's work, inflating his expense reports, and treating his staff like cattle. "Enjoy the meeting, Derek," I said. "I hear the chairman is a very particular man." "I'll eat him for breakfast," Derek scoffed. "He's probably some old trust fund baby who doesn't know a server from a toaster. I'll dazzle him, get my promotion, and then..." He wrapped an arm around Chloe. "Then we celebrate. Paris? Milan? What do you think, babe?" "Milan," Chloe sighed, looking at me with triumph. "Definitely Milan." I went back to typing. I wasn't fixing a printer. I was finalizing the agenda for Friday's meeting. Item 1, termination of D. Vance. Item 2, security escort protocols. "You know," I said, pausing, "you should probably double-check your expense reports before you go, Derek. The new auditors are strict." Derek walked over to my desk. He kicked the trash can, knocking it over. "Don't give me advice, IT boy. You're nothing. You're a bug on my windshield. Now clean that up." He walked away, Chloe on his arm. I slowly bent down and picked up the trash can. A bug on the windshield, I thought. The thing about bugs, Derek, is that sometimes they're actually a brick. The week leading up to the big meeting was a masterclass in arrogance. Derek didn't do a single hour of work. He spent his time loud-talking on the phone in his glass-walled office, ordering custom suits and bragging to anyone who would listen about his impending promotion. Chloe was worse. She treated the office like her personal runway. She started delegating her own work to the other assistants, claiming she was now executive partner support. On Wednesday, I was in the break room making a cheap instant coffee. Chloe walked in. She looked at my mug with disdain. "You know," she said, checking her reflection in the microwave door. "I almost feel bad for you, Liam. Watching us ascend while you stay down here in the mud." "I'm fine, Chloe." "Are you? You look tired. Probably stressing about unemployment. Look, when Derek gets his VP promotion, I'll ask him to give you a severance package. Maybe a month's pay? It's the least I can do for our history." "You're very generous." "I am," she nodded, believing it. "By the way, Derek is taking the company jet to the meeting on Friday. He said he could bring a +1. So I'm going." I paused. The company jet is for executives only. And technically, Derek isn't an executive yet. He's middle management. Details, she waved a hand. He approved the flight request himself. He says he needs to arrive in style to impress the board. He's bringing the Porsche too. Having it transported so we can drive it from the airport. I almost smiled. Derek had approved his own flight on a jet he wasn't authorized to use. That was another felony to add to the list. "I'm sure the board will be very impressed by his resourcefulness," I said. "They will," she said. "Oh, and Liam? Can you fix my phone? It's not syncing with the cloud." She held out her device. "Submit a ticket," I said. She scoffed. "Unbelievable. This is why you'll fail, Liam. You have no vision. No flexibility." She stormed out. Sterling Holdings isn't just an office building. It's a fortress of glass and steel overlooking the bay. The boardroom is on the 50th floor, suspended in the sky like a cloud. I wasn't in the IT department today. I was in the penthouse suite, standing in front of a floor-to-ceiling mirror. My stylist, Marcus, was adjusting the cuffs of my bespoke Italian suit. It was a midnight blue three-piece, cut to perfection. I wore a Patek Philippe watch that cost more than Derek's Porsche. My hair was styled back, sharp and professional. The glasses were gone. "You look like a shark, sir," Marcus said. "I feel like an exterminator," I replied. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah, my executive assistant. "They've arrived, sir. Mr. Vance and Ms. Chloe. They parked the Porsche in your reserved spot." I laughed. "Of course they did. Did you tow it?" "No, sir. As you instructed, I had the valets block it in with the garbage trucks." "Perfect. Send them up to the boardroom. Let them wait. Let them sweat." "How long?" 30 minutes. Keep the room temperature cold. Uncomfortably cold." "Understood." I poured myself a glass of water and walked to the window. I could see the city below. "I built this. My father built the foundation, but I built the empire. And I didn't build it for people like Derek Vance to plunder." Derek sat at the massive mahogany table, shivering slightly. The AC was blasting. He checked his watch, a gaudy gold thing that looked expensive but was actually a high-end knockoff. "Where are they?" he hissed to Chloe. "It's been 20 minutes. This is a power play." Chloe rubbed her arms. She was wearing a cocktail dress, completely inappropriate for a morning board meeting, but she thought it made her look sophisticated. "Maybe they're testing your patience, babe," she whispered. "Just stay confident. You own this room." Derek looked around. The room was intimidating. Portraits of the Sterling family lined the walls. Stern men with steel eyes. "I own this room," Derek repeated, trying to convince himself. "I'm the rainmaker. They need me. That little IT geek, Liam, he doesn't know what real pressure is. This is pressure. And I thrive on it." He spun the expensive pen sitting on the table. "I'm going to ask for a corner office," he muttered. "And a signing bonus. 50,000. No, 100,000. Ask for the company car too, Chloe added. A newer model. Done. And I want the authority to fire the entire support staff. Start fresh. The heavy oak doors at the far end of the room clicked. They didn't swing open fast. They opened slowly, automatically. Derek stood up, buttoning his jacket. He put on his best salesman's smile. Showtime, he whispered. A woman walked in first. Sarah. She looked severe, holding a tablet. Mr. Vance, she said coldly. The chairman will see you now. About time, Derek chuckled, stepping forward. Tell him I'm ready to rock and roll. Sarah stepped aside. I walked in. I didn't walk in like Liam the IT guy. I didn't shuffle. I strode. My heels clicked against the marble floor with a rhythmic, predatory sound. I didn't look at Chloe. I looked straight at Derek. Derek's smile froze. He squinted. Who the hell? He muttered. Then he laughed. A nervous, confused laugh. Liam? What are you doing here? Did you follow us? Did you sneak in to beg for your job? Chloe gasped. She stood up, her hand flying to her mouth. She looked at the suit. The watch. The way the light hit my face. Derek, she whispered. That's not a cheap suit. Liam! Derek barked, his face turning red. You are violating security protocols. Get out. I am about to meet the owner of this company. If he sees a janitor in here, heads will roll. I stopped at the head of the table. The chairman's chair. I rested my hand on the leather backrest. You're right, Derek, I said. My voice was different. Deeper. Resonant. No longer pitching it up to sound submissive. He is very particular about who is in his boardroom. I pulled the chair out and sat down. I interlaced my fingers on the table and looked at him. Please, I said. Sit down. We have a lot to discuss regarding your vision. Derek stood paralyzed. His brain couldn't process the image. The bug. The windshield. The brick. You. Derek stammered. You sat in that chair. That's the chairman's chair. Yes, I said. I am William Sterling. But you can call me Liam. Most of my employees do. Well, the ones who last. Chloe let out a sound like a dying bird. She collapsed back into her chair, her eyes wide, staring at me as if I were a ghost. No, Derek whispered. No, this is a prank. Your IT support. I saw you fixing cables under a desk last week. I was auditing the cable management, I said. And while I was down there, I heard you on the phone. Selling our client list to a competitor. Project Blue Jay, wasn't it? Derek's face went from red to a sickly ash gray. And the unauthorized use of the corporate jet? I continued, sliding a folder across the table. That's a $20,000 flight, Derek. Billed to client acquisition. But the passenger manifest lists. Chloe, girlfriend. I looked at Chloe. She was trembling. You wanted to travel in style, Chloe, I said. I hope you enjoyed the flight. It will be the most expensive flight of your life, considering Derek will be receiving the invoice for it. Derek's knees gave out. He fell into his chair. Mr. Sterling, he choked out. Sir. I didn't know. It was a misunderstanding. I was testing the system. To show you the flaws. You passed the test, I said. You found all the flaws. Specifically, the flaw of hiring you. I opened the folder. Derek Vance. You are hereby terminated for cause. Gross misconduct. Embezzlement. Corporate espionage. And I paused, looking at his shoes. General incompetence. This was the moment. The payoff. Derek didn't yell. He didn't fight. The arrogance evaporated, leaving only a pathetic small man. He slid out of his chair and onto his knees. Please, he begged, his voice cracking. Tears welled up in his eyes. Mr. Sterling. Liam, please. I have a mortgage. I have the Porsche lease. I can't lose this job. I'll do anything. I'll work in the mailroom. I'll clean the floors. Just don't fire me. Don't blacklist me. He crawled forward slightly. I'm sorry I called you a bug. I was joking. It was banter. We're friends, right? We're office buddies. I looked at Chloe. Her face was pale. Completely bloodless. She stared at the man she had left me for, the rising star, the man of fire. He was on his knees, weeping, begging the boring ex-boyfriend for mercy. Chloe, I said softly. She flinched. Is this the fire you were looking for? She couldn't speak. She shook her head slowly, tears streaming down her face, ruining her makeup. Get up, Derek, I said, disgusted. You're staining the carpet. Derek scrambled to his feet, wiping his nose with his sleeve, a sleeve that, I noticed, was missing a button. Cheap craftsmanship. So I can stay? He asked, a glimmer of delusional hope in his eyes. No, I said. You're leaving. But not via the elevator. I pressed the intercom button. Security. Send them in. The doors opened again. 2 large men in dark suits entered, followed by 2 uniformed police officers. Derek saw the badges and let out a whimper. Mr. Vance, one of the officers said, we have a warrant for your arrest regarding the sale of proprietary trade secrets and wire fraud. Arrest? Derek shrieked. He looked at me, wild-eyed. Liam, you called the cops? Over a client list? Over stealing $3 million from the pension fund, I corrected him. Did you think I wouldn't check the accounting logs while I was resetting passwords? The officers grabbed him. He struggled, knocking over a pitcher of water. Chloe! He screamed as they dragged him backward. Chloe, tell them! Tell them I'm a VP! Tell them who I am! Chloe shrank into her chair, pulling her legs up as if to avoid contamination. She didn't look at him. She looked at the floor. She can't help you, Derek, I said. She's not an employee. She's just a visitor. Derek was hauled out of the room, his screams of I'm a visionary echoing down the hallway until the heavy doors cut off the sound. Silence returned to the boardroom. The hum of the AC was the only sound. I picked up my glass of water and took a sip. I looked at the empty chair where Derek had been. Then I looked at Chloe. She was alone. The +1 to a prisoner. She slowly looked up. Her arrogance was gone. Her disdain was gone. In its place was a terrified, calculating look. I saw the gears turning. She was wondering if she could salvage this. If she could pivot. Liam, she whispered. Her voice was trembling, soft. The voice she used to use when she wanted me to buy her something she couldn't afford. Mr. Sterling, I corrected, not looking up from my papers. Mr. Sterling, she swallowed. I didn't know. About the stealing. About any of it. He lied to me. He manipulated me. She stood up, her legs shaking in her high heels. She took a step toward me. You know how I am, she said, forcing a weak smile. I'm trusting. I wanted us to be successful. I thought he was the way to do it. But I see now. I see I was wrong. She reached out a hand, trying to touch my arm. The same arm she had dismissed as boring 3 days ago. You were always the smart one, Liam. I always said that, didn't I? I said you were destined for greatness. You said I was background noise, I reminded her. I was angry, she cried, tears spilling over again. I was confused. But we can fix this. You and me. We were good together, right? Before all this? Now you can give me the life we talked about. Milan. Paris. We can go together. I looked at her hand hovering near my sleeve. Sarah, I said. My assistant stepped forward from the shadows of the room. Yes, sir? Is there a return flight booked for Miss Chloe? No, sir. The jet is scheduled for maintenance immediately after this meeting. And Mr. Vance's car has been impounded by the police as evidence of purchased assets with stolen funds. I looked back at Chloe. It appears you're stranded, Chloe. Stranded? She blinked. But you can drive me. We can take your car. Or the jet. You own the jet. I stood up. I buttoned my jacket. My jet is for people who believe in me when I'm wearing a hoodie, not just when I'm wearing Armani. I walked around the table. She tried to block my path, to throw herself at me. Liam, please. I have no ride. I have no money. I quit my job because Derek said I wouldn't need to work. I have nothing. You have your ambition, I said cold, stepping around her. And you have your fire. I'm sure that will keep you warm on the walk home. The walk? She screeched. We're 20 miles from the city. It's raining. Then I suggest you start walking, I said. Before it gets dark. I walked to the door. Sarah held it open for me. Liam! Chloe screamed, falling to her knees, exactly where Derek had been. Don't leave me here. I love you. I've always loved you. I paused at the threshold. I turned back one last time. She looked small. Pathetic. A woman who had traded a diamond for a piece of glass because the glass was shinier. No, Chloe, I said. You loved the idea of a regional manager. You loved the Porsche. You never loved me. I signaled to Sarah. Revoke her security clearance. Escort her to the lobby. And give her an umbrella. I'm not a monster. Yes, sir. Actually, I paused. Make it one of the promotional umbrellas. The ones with the old logo. We need to get rid of that stock. I walked out. Behind me, I heard the wail of a woman realizing that the safe option was the only one that really mattered, and she had burned it to the ground. 6 months later. The skyline of Seattle looked different from the corner office of the Sterling Tower. The rain was still falling, but from up here, it looked like diamonds sliding down the glass. I sat at my desk, the real desk, made of reclaimed oak, signing the quarterly reports. TechSource was profitable again. We had cleaned house. The toxicity was gone. The people who actually worked hard were promoted. My intercom buzzed. Mr. Sterling? Yes, Sarah? There's a delivery for you. Personal. Send it in. A young intern walked in holding a small envelope. He looked nervous. I smiled at him, a genuine smile. I remembered being invisible. Thank you, I said. I opened the envelope. It was a check. For $400. Attached was a handwritten note on cheap lined paper. Liam, I know this doesn't cover the dinner, or the flight, or anything. It's all I have right now. I'm working double shifts at a diner in Tacoma. My parents wouldn't take me back after the scandal with Derek. I'm living in a studio. I saw you on the cover of Forbes last week. You looked good. You looked happy. I'm sorry. I know that word is cheap, but it's all I have left. Chloe. I looked at the check. It was wrinkled, like it had been held in a sweaty hand for a long time. I thought about tearing it up. I thought about sending it back. Instead, I opened my drawer and placed it next to my old pair of thick-rimmed glasses. A reminder. Never forget who stood by you in the rain. And never forget who only showed up for the sun. Sarah, I said into the intercom. Yes, sir? The check from Ms. Chloe. Deposit it. Deposit it, sir? It's a very small amount. I know, I said. But it's the first honest money she's ever earned. I want to respect that. Understood. Oh, and sir? The new IT director is here for his interview. Send him in. The door opened. A young man walked in. He was wearing a flannel shirt, ill-fitting jeans, and looked terrified. He looked at the luxury of the office and shrank back. Hi, he stammered. I'm looking for Mr. Sterling? I applied for the level 1 tech position. I stood up. I walked around the desk and extended my hand. I'm Liam, I said. Don't worry about the suit. I used to work and support myself. The kid relaxed. Really? Really? Tell me, how are you with printers?